Velma wasn't just another reboot gone wrong, it was a straight-up character assassination of a franchise that defined generations. Scooby-Doo wasn't just missing, he was erased. A franchise staple, replaced with mean-spirited meta-snark, masquerading as preteen drama. Fred's a privileged idiot, Daphne's a cringe Gen Z stereotype, and Velma? No longer the lovable, brainy detective, she's a bitter, narcissistic narrator sneering at the characters and the fans. Entertainment Weekly called it a self-aware slog that's so extra it's minus. Meta jokes searching for meaning with none found. This wasn't just unpopular, it was brutal. Rotten Tomatoes audience score, 6 to 7%, among the lowest in history. Even fans of niche storytelling slammed its overstuffed humor and lack of personality. They tweeted the jokes, then animated them. Scenes like viral clapbacks stitched into storyboards. Never clever, just cheap hits and clumsy identity checks. Critics and fans called out its flat diversity messaging. Velma's South Asian and bisexual identity portrayed with superficial bluntness, no depth. Wired nailed it. Despite a record-breaking premiere, Velma became the internet's punching bag. The higher the pedigree, the harder the backlash. And the worst part? It hates its own audience. It calls nostalgia toxic, privilege checks every old fan, and sneers at love for the classic Scooby-Doo format. It wasn't made for fans. It was made to spite them. That betrayal sparked review-bombing chaos, petitions, ratios, Reddit rants calling it woke propaganda, ruined my childhood, and straight-up garbage. This wasn't a flop. It was a firing squad aimed at the fans. Built on legacy, torn apart by contempt. A cautionary tale. You can't reboot nostalgia by sneering at it. Saints Row used to be pure, chaotic anarchy. You'd roll into a gunfight dressed as a giant hot dog, blasting Kanye while causing digital mayhem. Now, you're starting a millennial gig economy with rent stress and low-key moralizing. They didn't just modernize Saints Row, they gutted it. Gang warfare? Gone. Dark humor? Gone. The franchise's heart? Buried under dull corporate startup cliché, poorly executed. According to Metacritic and critics, the reboot received mixed to average reviews, slammed for its dated gameplay, shallow writing, and overwhelming bugs. Even Niche Gamer called it the worst game I've played this year, the biggest disappointment since Two Worlds, stressing that it's not even fun to laugh at, just forgettable badness. One Reddit user nailed the tone. They basically made a 2012 open-world game, slapped a higher price on it, and called it a reboot. Gamers weren't asking for a non-toxic Saints Row. They wanted the unruly weirdos riding tanks into fireworks. Instead, they got a glitch-ridden, tone-deaf shell, a corporate reboot that forgot what made Saints Row Saints Row. It didn't just flop, it erased itself. Ghostbusters isn't just a poorly executed reboot, it's a cultural statement. They turned nostalgia into a weapon, revving up outrage before a single ticket was sold. Ghostbusters, 2016, didn't just flop. It was a legacy franchise sacrificed as a culture war pawn. They weaponized nostalgia, blamed the fans for rejecting it, and turned what could have been a reboot into a statement piece. And fans? They didn't reject Ghostbusters because it starred women. They rejected being lectured by their favorite characters. This reboot was so bad, it never even aired. Yet it still became one of the most reviled TV projects ever conceived. This reboot wasn't a flop, it was a nuclear failure in development. It reminds us that some franchises aren't meant for gritty realism. Powerpuff Girls belongs in animated Townsville, not as emotionally damaged 20-somethings drenched in trauma porn. The internet laughed, CW pulled the plug, and fans got their wish. They dodged a bullet. The original Proud Family delivered warmth, humor, and relatable Black family dynamics that resonated across generations. The revival? It turned that vibrant nostalgia into its loudest political statement yet. This wasn't just a reboot, it was a takeover. A franchise built on warmth and laughter turned into a morality play that few asked for. The Proud Family deserved more than to be a social issue billboard. not least because fans still loved the original. They came back for Penny. Instead, they left with politics, and that alone made the reboot feel like a betrayal. The original She-Ra was bold, iconic, and unapologetically magical. It was sword-swinging, heartstring-tugging fantasy for kids and adults alike. Netflix's version? It looked like someone sketched it in Tumblr fandom art, then stripped it of personality. It turned enchanted heroics into mood board metaphors, and fans saw right through it. Netflix's She-Ra and the Princesses of Power wasn't a magical reboot. It was a stylistic takeover. It traded the iconic boldness of the original for soft pastel stereotypes and soul-searching dialogue. It didn't kill the franchise, it neutralized it. This wasn't a warrior princess. It was a walking metaphor, losing the magic. Batwoman wasn't just a reboot, it was a living, breathing Twitter hashtag. Identity politics on display instead of heroes saving Gotham. Scripts read like political checklists, not character arcs. The main character? She's a lesbian and angry. That's it. No real growth, no nuance. Just endless reminders of her identity written into every line. Batwoman didn't flop. It collapsed under its own message, hollowing out characters to fill quotas. A show built to shout politics instead of telling stories. When even the CW calls it quits, you know identity isn't enough to hold an action series together. Willow was a cult classic, fantasy without pretense, quirky magic, and big enough heart to make even old-school fans believe again. It never needed a sequel, but Disney Plus gave it one anyway. And what we got was far from enchanting. Willow didn't just miss its mark, it was buried before it could raise a Voldarian staff. Magic was excised, wonder replaced with sarcasm, and characters became conduits for modern messaging. It didn't honor the original, it rewrote it for an audience that never asked for it, and now it's erased from the platform that aired it. This was Willow, a legacy lost in the algorithm.